Diecasters, welcome to another insane episode here on Diecast Insanity. Guys, you're doing well. Hope you're finding what you're looking for, and all that good stuff, and having a great week. Talk to you guys about some castings and give some castings some love that aren't necessarily they're considered fantasy castings, but as you guys saw in the title for this video, it says fantasy castings or not. So I'm going to prove to you guys that, and I've got 6 cars here. And granted, this isn't, all of them out there, because there's probably a lot of other castings out there that are fantasy castings, but they're based off of something else. That, that are older castings or newer castings or whatever. But I picked these 6 from my collection. I went through Shaden's cars. I went through some of Elijah's cars, pulled out some cars, got to looking at them, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I thought we would take a look at these castings and prove to you that these castings, granted they're fantasy castings, but they're either based off of a real car or they are what I believe to be the future version of a real car. So let me get set up. We'll take a look. I've got a couple that we're going to use another Hot Wheel to prove. And then we've got some others that we're just going to look up on the internet. And I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So let me get set up and we'll take a look. Alright, so the first car we're going to take a look at here is a car from, this car is from 2001. I'm not sure if it's still in production. I believe it's no longer in production. I didn't look that part up. But it was first introduced in 2002. The car that we're going to be looking at here is about the 7th release from about the mid to late 2000s, early 2000s. But the car we're going to take a look at is the HW Prototype 12. This one's a little beat up. This one came out of Shaden's box of cars upstairs in his room. But I got to looking at this car, and I'm like, you know what? This car would work for that video. Now, as you can tell by the construction, this car is probably about 90% plastic. The only metal part is the red part. Everything else on this car is plastic. But, in my experience, this is Hot Wheels' attempt, because they couldn't do it outright, because they didn't have the licensing to do it. But this is Hot Wheels' take on the McLaren GTR. And here we go. And now if you take a look at these two cars, side by side, you're going to see a whole heck of a lot of similarities in the windows, in the roof lines, in the wings, in the body shape. And even if you look inside this car, I don't know if you can tell, the windows are kind of scratched up on this car, but if you look inside of it, it has the same seating arrangement as the McLaren. Center driver position, you can see there's the steering wheel right there. It's got seat on this side with the driver in the center. If you look inside the McLaren, same thing. Center driving position, seat in the middle, passenger seat, passenger seat. You can even see the tops of this car right here where this little indent is like the intake that's on the actual McLaren. Granted, the wing's not attached to the body, it's in the back, but you can see the center rib down there. It's got this as a center rib down there. You can see by the door lines that the door lines are relatively same. They've got the relatively same sectioning there on the sides of the car. So the HW12, in my opinion, is Hot Wheels' take, because they couldn't do it at the time, but is Hot Wheels' take on the McLaren GTR. Prove me wrong, somebody out there, but I think this car was made to represent the McLaren. So, what do you guys think? You guys see what I'm seeing here? So, pretty cool. So, that's number 1. Number 2, and this one might kind of floor you guys. And where'd my sticker go? I lost the sticker. So number 2 is the Solar CX4. This happens to be the very first edition from the 1999, 1998. I don't know where my sticker went. I had the car cataloged. Now the sticker's gone. Huh. Well, whatever. I have to redo it. So, very cool car, very sweet car. In my opinion, this is Hot Wheels' attempt in the late 80s actually, early 90s, to do a 962. And if you look at the cars, they are very, very similar in the wheel arch. I mean, of course, the Solar CX4 is kind of its proportions and stuff are exaggerated, given the Hot Wheels take on it. But you look at the car, you look at the body shape, you look at the front fenders, the rear quarter of the car. It is a 962 Porsche. And back in the day, I used it as a 962 Porsche. I was really into endurance racing in the late 80s. So it was my Porsche. I hunted for this car when it first came out, and I finally picked one up. And it became my Porsche in my endurance races. So, you guys can. I see it all the way. Let me know what you guys think, but I really truly think that this Solar CX4 was designed after the Porsche 962. So, there you go. So that's number 2. So we'll put these up here. So number 3, and I've already said this once when we did the custom of this car. When we did the custom, I said that's what I thought this car was, and we'll have to see what everybody else thinks. But this is the Fast Feline from 2009. This is the first edition. This is the second color, and as you guys know, I believe this is Hot Wheels' modern take on the Jaguar E-Type. Now, granted, this is the lightweight E-Type, so the roof line is different. On the regular road-going E-Type, it goes all the way to the back. So it kind of represents this car a little better than the lightweight car. But if you look at the proportions, you look at the styling, you look at the way the car presents itself, the Fast Feline is Hot Wheels' modern take of the E-Type. Center exhaust in the back, center exhaust in the back. You look on the top, you've got vents here and here, you got vents here and here. You've got the raised center down the hood, you've got the raised center down the hood. You see the inlet on the front, the round inlet on the front, the round inlet on the front. So, and that's probably one of the reasons why I think it's called the Fast Feline, is because it's representing a modern take of a Jag, the E-Type. So, really, really cool. So, that's number 3. Tell me what you guys think. See if you guys see the same things I'm seeing. So, next up, we have from 1998. This is the main line. This is the new edition. This is the first edition. This is the only color of the Catapult. Now, and the car it was inspired by is this car right here, the Chevrolet powered Cheetah. Take a look at this car. Take a look at this car. You look at its proportions, you look at its size, you look at its side proportion. This car was inspired by the Cheetah. Granted, this has an open top where the Cheetah was a closed top, but this is the inspiration in my book for this car right here. And even if you even look, it's even got the same number. I didn't even see that before. So, very cool race car, very innovative for its time. But I'm not quite sure. It's in the 60 time frame. But very cool race car, very fast, very nimble, very quick race car, very short steering race car. But to me, the Catapult is Hot Wheel. The inspiration for it came from the Chevrolet Cheetah. What do you guys think? I see it. Do you guys see it? Alright, so next car up is another fantasy casting. Very heavy fantasy casting. Okay, so next up is a very heavy casting. Metal body, metal base car. This is from 1999. This is the mainline first edition of this car, the only color, of the Turbulence. I do not believe this car is in production anymore. But my take on this car is that this car was inspired by the land speed record cars from Mercedes from the 30s. And here's a picture of one right here. And if you look at the body styling of this car, you look at the body styling of the Turbulence, minus the wheel covers. And I believe also there's a little bit of Auto Union inspiration in this car as well. But if you look at this and look at this, they're awfully, awfully close. There's several other cars shots here. There's some front engines, there's some rear engines. But that's the W125. That's probably the closest. There's also, let's see if we can find. There's a lot of other cars that were the full body. Let's see if I can find a picture of the full body Mercedes race cars were also another inspiration here. Let's see. Okay, so very, very cool there. So that's my take. So what do you guys think of that? Let me know. And the last car we're going to take a look at, this is from 2009. This is the main line. This is the first edition of this car. Second color. This is the Advent Grande. Very cool car. But in my book, this is a modern interpretation. And I can't find the name of this car. Oh, for the Citroen DS21. Here is a picture right here. Flip of the Citroen DS from the front. Here's some other shots of some Citroens. This one's probably the best side view, as you can see. And if you take a look at this car and take a look at that car, very, very similar in its silhouette. Very close, so in my book, this right here is Hot Wheels' take of what a modern Citroen DS would look like in today's world. So if you guys have some fantasy castings, go take a look. Go take a look. They're not entirely fantasy cars. They are inspired by cars of the real world. They're taken from inspiration from real cars. Sometimes they take them and make them to look as close as they can to the real thing because they either didn't have the license at the time to do them, or they say, well, hey, what would an E-Type look like today? Or what would a Citroen DS look like today? And they're like, well, let's run with it. So that is kind of a very cool thing about a lot of the fantasy castings, is that there's some out there that aren't purely just fantasy. They've taken inspiration from real cars in the real world to come up with. Very cool. So let me get your guys' take on this. What do you guys think, especially with these 6 that I picked here? What do you guys think? Am I hitting on something? Do I have something here? I think I do. I really do. And I love that Hot Wheels takes cars. I love that they do real cars. But there is something that they do when they take an older car and they go, what would it look like today? And they just run with it. And it actually comes out as a fantasy casting, but it was inspired by something of the past. Or they took a current car that they were inspired by and did their interpretation of it, kind of thing. So, very cool, very cool. So I hope you guys have a great week. I hope this was a little fun video for you guys. Take a look at your collection. Maybe you got cars in your collection that are fantasy castings that may look like a real car. Or maybe an inspiration from a real car. So go take a look. You never know. So have a great week. Remember to leave some on the pegs for the collectors in your area, and continue to have fun with the hobby and enjoy it, and look at these cars for what they are, because they are works of art in some cases, I believe. Whether it's a real car, whether it's a prototype, or whether it's a fantasy casting that may be inspired by the real thing. So I'll catch you guys later. Have fun. I'm out. Bye.